Okay, we're in the SSUV preview image section. What we're going to do is select an object here, and that has an unwrap modifier, so we're just going to collapse that down. I have Shift D set to a macro that converts the selection to an editable poly. So every single time you see Shift D, it's just me converting to an editable poly. Okay. Now, when I have a single object selected and I left click the preview image, we have an unwrap modifier added to the object with a default map channel of 1. This is a setting that is default to SSUV. You can turn it off if you do not want the auto add modifiers added. I've mentioned this before, but I feel it's important to mention it again in this specific section. Okay. So I would leave that on for 99.9% of your use cases. If you do not like it, you can turn it off, but you'll have to take the extra steps to add the modifier on your own. SSUV will utilize whatever unwrap modifier you have selected in the modifier stack. So you don't need to worry about losing information or mixing information up. But please be sure to back up your files because there are times where Macs will crash. I mean, I don't want to be rude, but things happen. So let's jump right in here to a little deeper. What we have is the unwrap modifier was added. We render the preview of that unwrap modifier, which is map channel 1, the default map channel for a modifier. Okay. Then we have map channel 1 is being displayed. The blue-green button will always be the map that is being displayed. We see UV channel 3 is black. That just means that there's data found in that map channel, and we're aware that that object has map channel 3 in use. Okay. Now, we'll get into more things with this in the next video because there's a lot of information within this that's nice to know. It's actually, this is some of the best stuff here, in my opinion anyways. Okay, so the other thing we're doing is referencing the information in the modifier. So every single time you load an object or objects into this, if it's an instance modifier for that case, we're referencing the information in the modifier here to set these settings. So back face is turned on and seams is set to green and blue. Okay. And we can just do this real quick. Turn that one off and that one off. Oh, I have to load it real quick. Load it into the system, then turn it off. Okay. And then I'm going to select this and load that into the system. You see it's turned on. I'll select this one, load that into the system, and you see it's turned off. Okay. Just to continue on here. If I decide to click this again after an unwrap modifier is already added, nothing will happen. Okay. It's just going to select the unwrap modifier. That's basically it. So if we wanted to force add another unwrap modifier to, like, this is map channel 1, say we want another map channel 1 above this, we can then just select the plus button. Okay. Now we have 2 map channel 1. Easy enough. Next we have 2 objects. So we have 2 editable polys. You can see editable poly, editable poly. Select both and left click. Okay, nothing happened. And you see that this is clear. So it's kind of a sign that there's a problem, right? But this is more of a thing we should be paying attention to. Pop out the info panel, place that up at the top, slide the rollout up and position that button to be, and it's a nice tidy look right there. So now when I click this, you see we're getting information saying that we can't iterate through that selection because we're in a safety mechanism here. We have a safety block where if you have a lot of objects selected in your scene, you move your mouse and accidentally click that, you're not accidentally polluting your scene by adding that unwrap modifier to all those objects. Oh, it would be not fun to clean up. So remember to back up your work, obviously, as well, just in case errors happen along the way. But if we did want to force, adding a modifier in the iteration style, we're told here that it is plus Alt. So Alt click. There we go. This object now has an unwrap modifier as well as this object. Great, we can work on them separately. Okay. Now, let's talk about an instance modifier. I'm going to select all of these objects. I'm going to actually press Shift D to make sure they're all editable poly. That's a good enough check. There we go. So there's 10 objects here. We want an instanced unwrap modifier added. We can right click. Right clicking the image will add that instance unwrap modifier. Right clicking it again won't add an instance unwrap modifier, an additional one anyhow. That does a different feature. We're going to come back to that in a moment. It's a real speed mechanism type thing. Okay, so we have 10 objects here with an instanced unwrap modifier. We can go into polygon mode, select all, and pack them, but they're not unwrapped really, so it's just going to look like a mess. I'm going to select box map, going to box map all of them and pack them. There we go. Take a look at that. Great. That's based upon the settings we have specified here in the packing section. Wonderful. Okay, so let's talk about this. If I have an object that has an instanced unwrap modifier on it, and I click to render the preview, thinking to myself, okay, there's other objects. I know this is an instance modifier, but where are the other objects? I don't remember what objects are also included in this UV map. You can left click this instanced mod, this INS mod button, and that will collect all of the objects and select them for you that are sharing that modifier. Okay. And there we go. We can click and get that to render out. Okay, I believe that's pretty good there. Let's get into the right clicking when there is a modifier for the unwrap modifier in that modifier stack. So I have this single object. I'm going to preview what it looks like. It looks like heck, so I'm going to select all and just box map it real quick, just for something more pleasing than nothing here. Okay, so I now have that box mapped, editable poly. I'm going to click to add an unwrap modifier to it. Say I'd like to edit that map channel, and I know it's going to be map channel 1 because of how the system works. Clicking that provides that map channel to me. I need to edit this in a way that SSUV is not providing me in an easy to quick manner. And I need to customize something. Well, when there is an unwrap modifier selected in the modifier panel, right-clicking the image becomes an entirely different feature. It's state-based, right? So being state-based, it's going to open up the edit window for you. So now you can perform edits, and then when you're done, right-click the window again. Or I'm sorry, right-click the preview, and that will close the window for you. So just real quick to show you an example, we have that cleared out. Oh, I noticed this object has a UV problem. I need to fix it real quick. Going to left-click, right-click, select the problem, fix it. There we go, right-click, out, we're done. Get the object out the door, right? That simple. Now, let's clear that out. And we'll do the same thing over here. We'll select all of these objects. And we're just going to left-click to get a preview here, but we have an object set. Oh, I collapsed these. Okay. So let's right-click to add an instance modifier and go back to the step I was doing. So let's start that over. Going to select all of these objects. They have an instance unwrap modifier. I'm going to left-click to get the preview of that modifier because the modifier is already there. So when there is a modifier selected for unwrap UVW, left-clicking the image panel will preview that modifier information. Then right-click will open up the editor window. This is a little different. You don't need to really use it like that. You can just completely ignore that feature if you like. Well, let's just get an example here of how nice and quick that is. Say you see an issue here and you need to fix it. Let's just select them all. We're going to left click just to get a preview. Oh, we do see the issue. We right click to open. Let's zoom in on the issue. We'll fix it. Right click to close it. And we're done. It's out the door. Now, lastly, for this preview section, and let me select an easier to view one and open this up actually. There we are. Okay, we do have some overlaps here. Not sure what's going on with that. But okay, I went in and adjusted those faces so it's no longer overlapping. Now, when we set that up, we just did a quick box map. We didn't clean anything up. We just have a basic example here to run through things. It wasn't anything that was intended to be correct. Okay, so now that we have this previewed here, I want to show you additional features of this preview window. If I control left click, we're going to get the material override to show up behind our layout. And just so you know, this is interesting. If we change the checker mode over to a user UV map, right, like this one, control click, we're going to see the user UV map. So I can right click, go to 1024, left click, and there you go. We're going to render that out. No, I accidentally right clicked. My apology. So I'm going to control left click, and there we are. I believe that's everything for that. Let me just make a quick review. 1 second. So there are additional features to this map, and some are based in Trim Gem, where you can get the trim map to be previewed in this preview image section while you're working on certain pieces. We're not going to cover that right now, but I will cover this. So if you were working on your object and we have unwrap modifier selected with map channel 1, say we wanted another map channel 1, or we just wanted to add a modifier on top of a different modifier. Let's add channel 3 here. Okay, we see that's channel 3. Let's say we want to add map channel 1. So we can just shift and click. That will add another unwrap modifier. And that's basically forcing it to do what it does when you don't have a modifier already there. Okay, when you don't have an unwrap modifier selected, and you click, it loads one for you. Then shift and click will force that same function onto it. Okay. So I hope you guys are finding that interesting. We're going to be moving into this next section here based on channels, overrides, and viewport preview overrides as well. This next part's going to be pretty interesting. I think a lot of you will like this.